From South Carolina Public Radio, this is Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray, and frankly, my whats, I don't give a win. That's because this week we're firing up the Who, What, When time machine, and we're heading back to the 1930s.
We sure are, Brandon. A Gone with the Wind reference right out of the gate. Coming up, we'll test your knowledge of the decade's biggest moments, get schooled in 30s slang, and hear some colorful headlines from the era that proved the past isn't all black and white.
If you'd like to join us for these games, just call or text us at 803-470-6347. That's 803-470-6347. Or you can send us an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org. You'll get a chance to earn the title of Who, What, When Champion of the Week, and most importantly, our very special prize. You know it, you love it. The Who, What, When Fanny Pack.
That's right, Brandon. It only feels right to honor the 1930s with an episode of its own. The decade saw many notable historical events, some good, some bad, some bright, some tragic. And while we obviously won't be able to get to everything today, we can at least take a moment to thank the 30s for this show.
For this, our show? All right, Dan, I'm intrigued. Tell me about it.
Yeah, those problems, including the events like the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl, might have been bad news, but they were still news.
Right, which means what?
Which means that people needed a way to get that news, and they needed a way to get it fast. They needed the radio.
Now we're on the same wavelength, Dano. We do know a thing or two about radio.
We sure do, Bran, and even though some say we may have perfected the radio broadcast, we did not invent it.
Well,
While the 1920s saw the advent of radio technology, it wasn't until the 30s that the devices became commonplace. For some context, in the year 1930, roughly 40% of households owned a radio. By 1940, that number was 83%.
So, Dan, if my calculations are correct, the number of households owning radios more than doubled in the decade? That's fast.
Sure is. It's why the 1930s are now seen as the golden age of radio. In fact, radio was so important to people's morale that by 1940, more households owned a radio than those that owned cars, telephones, electricity, or even plumbing.
That is some real radio love. Dan, it seems like a lot of people had radios and they used them to get their news. But what else were the people tuning in for?
Well, the music, of course.
Aha.
And there was also a ton of radio programs designed solely for entertainment. You name it, and there was a radio program about it.
Okay, challenge accepted. Give me soap opera.
Can I introduce you to John's other wife?
Okay, yes, you
the
can.
The show's protagonist, John Perry, the owner of a department store. His wife, Elizabeth, suspects he is romantically involved with his secretary and then with his assistant, and then so on.
Did you say so on? How many wives did he have?
No one knows, Bram, but actually quite a few. The show ran from 1936 to 1942, and typically each episode had another other woman
for
John's wife to be suspicious of.
That's so many women.
Because of this ridiculous premise, it is remembered as radio's most parodied soap opera. The voice actors themselves enjoyed ripping into the plot once the program's run was over.
I can imagine, Dan, that would get old quite fast. What if I wanted, Dan, a more thrilling show? Could you give me crime drama?
I got you. That would be The Bishop and the Gargoyle, a show that dramatizes everyone's favorite classic crime-fighting duo, a nearly retired bishop and a convict named the Gargoyle.
Okay, I can't stump you on the drama front. Let's switch it up. Give me sitcom.
Sure. How do you feel about Fibber, McGee, and Molly?
Tell me everything about Fibber, McGee, and Molly, please.
Sure will. Fibber, McGee, and Molly ran from 1935 all the way to 1959, recounting the many misadventures of working-class couple Fibber, McGee, and Molly. You'd never guess, but Fibber's defining characteristic was his pathological dishonesty.
What? With a name like Fibber?
I know, hard to believe. But Fibber and his exasperated yet loving wife Molly were popular fixtures of radio entertainment.
At this point, that sounds about right. Dan, hit me with a Western!
Are you ready for this banger? Bobby Benson and the B-Bar-B Riders. It's the story of 12-year-old Bobby Benson who inherits his family's ranch in Big Bend, Texas after the death of his parents. He must defend the ranch against outlaws and ne'er-do-wells, all while being 12 years old.
Dan, I can't imagine that goes well.
Wrong! Premiering in 1932, the show ran for a total of 10 years, almost as long as Bobby was alive, before becoming the owner of the B-Bar-B Ranch in Big Bend, Texas.
Is this kind of show a one-off, or were there multiple programs with young boys as protagonists?
Bobby was not the only one, Bran. I brought another example as a special treat.
That is so kind of you, Dan. You love your special treats.
It's my pleasure. Let me tell you about a little show called Speed Gibson of the International Secret Police.
Oh, yeah.
Who is Speed Gibson, you ask? Well, he's a typical American boy interested in shortwave radio, aviation, and most of all, the International Secret Police.
I gotta ask, Dan, how old is Speed Gibson?
He's 15, of course, but don't worry, Speed is accompanied by his uncle Clint Barlow and Barlow's sidekick, Barney Dunlap. Barney Dunlap, who is known for his iconic catchphrase, say it with me now, we all know it,
Suffering Wangdoodles! Dan, all in all, I'm pretty sure this history lesson has left me with more questions than answers, but luckily, I know a couple of people who are fans of questions, and I think it's time to introduce them.
Yes, we've got two contestants who are ready to hop into the Who What When time machine with us.
It's spacious. Contestant number one, what's your name and where you're from?
Hi, I'm Mary, originally from PA, but now I'm living in Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh,
Originally
wow.
from Pennsylvania.
Yes,
That's
Oh,
right.
I thought she said Pa.
She said PA. Where in Pennsylvania?
around Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Shout out.
Shout out.
Great city. You big 1930s head.
My grandma was born in the 1930s.
Okay.
That's about as much as I know.
Great.
All right.
Awesome. Well, good.
Well, channel that energy.
Channel grandma
I will.
energy. That's
Yes.
right. Exactly. And who's she going to be playing against? That's caller number two. Caller number two, what's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Jan, and I live in Charleston, South Carolina now, but I was born in a very small town, or lived in a very small town, St. Stephen, South Carolina.
St.
go.
Stephen, South Carolina. How are the 30s sounding to you, Jan?
30s are kind of scary, but my mom was born in 1930, so I'm a bit older than Mary.
It does. That's how the math, I think, would work there with grandma
Yeah.
being born the same year as your
that's
mom.
fair.
But I'm not here to make any judgment of any kind. in
I'll
that
just say
regard.
this. I'm interested to see if any of that matters here, Dan. We have a way about this show
That's right.
where, gotta be
Yes.
honest, nothing matters.
Who, what, when is the great equalizer
It
when
is.
it comes to what you think your experience
That's right.
is. Mary from Pennsylvania and Jan from South Carolina, thank you for joining us today. We'll be starting out with a game we're calling the Great Depression.
Here's how the Great Depression will work. Mary and Jan, you'll take turns answering multiple choice questions about general 1930s trivia. Give us the right answer, you'll win yourself a point.
Mary, the first question in the Great Depression goes to you. Even during the Great Depression, the movie's biggest monsters came from us not leaving well enough alone, which is no doubt why we get the first cinematic sighting of this iconic primate that wouldn't necessarily consider the Empire State Building his natural habitat. A, Frankenstein. B, King Kong. Or C, The Lost World.
Ooh, I'm going to have to go with King Kong.
She's going to have to go with King Kong, and Mary from PA is on the board.
Here we go.
Correct.
On the board.
That's right.
She's
Channeling
pumped.
grandma. I love it.
That's right. At the very least,
That's right.
got one. At the very
That's right.
least.
Shout out Mary's grandma.
Shout out.
Love Big King Kong head.
That's right. Jan, your first question here about the 1930s in a game we're calling the Great Depression. 3 years into the Great Depression, presidential candidate Franklin Delano Roosevelt changed the role of the presidency forever by offering Americans this campaign slogan, where the president and U.S. government promised personal care for its citizens. Is that A, the Square Deal, B, the New Deal, or C, the Fair Deal?
That would be B, the New Deal.
B, the New Deal is correct.
Look at this. Look at this.
Channeling Jan's mom.
Yeah.
She got that one right. A couple of 30s heads we got on our hands.
We're off to a great start.
That's right. Did they go in the time machine with us?
I tell
Brent?
you what.
Wow. All right, Mary, the board's back to you. 1930s quiz. Here's your next question. In 1930, American astronomer Clyde Tombaugh discovered this new celestial body on the outskirts of our solar system, and for almost 100 years, we've argued whether or not it clears its neighboring region of other objects while orbiting the sun. Is that A, the Kuiper Belt, B, Orion, or C, Pluto?
You know what? There's been lots of talks on whether Pluto is really up there or not, or if it's really a planet. I'm gonna say Pluto.
I can confirm Pluto is up there.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the
I
argument,
cannot confirm if it is a planet. Mary is correct.
Hey, is it
Either
even
way.
up there?
Is it up there? We don't know.
Not enough people are
There's been some
questioning
talk if it's up there or
that.
not.
Absolutely.
It could be down there. Shout out to the Kuiper belt. Mel Kuiper named the
Depending
belt.
on-
Of all the belts out there, I think the best available is the Kuiper belt.
Shout out Pluto. Great planet. Great dog.
Is up there. That's exactly right. Jan, the board is back to you. Let's see if we can keep the good times rolling here in the 1930s quiz we're calling the Great Depression. In 1935, this larger-than-life American celebrity hit his 714th and final home run as a member of the Boston Braves? It was a number that was thought to be untouchable at the time and a record that stood for almost 40 years. Is that A, Ted Williams, B, Mickey Mantle, or C, Babe Ruth?
C, the Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth is correct. Jan is answering with such confidence.
No.
Everybody out there listening who needs a little encouragement, just live life with the confidence that Jan from Charleston answers
Jan
questions.
said the Babe.
The Babe. They called him the Babe.
That's
Babe
what
Ruth.
they called him.
George Herman Ruth. That's exactly right. Jan got her next question
Good
right.
candy bar.
And it's the 1930s, but I'm feeling froggy here, Brand. I don't want to say it too early. I don't want to sound that horn, but we got a perfect. Horn's getting worse. Horn's getting worse.
Yeah.
We got to get it fixed. I didn't want to sound
It
that.
is due for maintenance.
That was the perfect game
We
horn.
canceled the maintenance plan, and now we're
Yeah,
regretting
you
it.
don't. That's right. You always get the maintenance plan. You always get it. We're 4 for 4. We got a perfect game on our hands. We're talking 1930s. Mary from PA. Here's your next question. On top of the collapse of Wall Street and skyrocketing unemployment in big cities, the 1930s were also devastating to farmers because of this natural disaster that lasted most of the decade, forcing middle American farmers to literally relocate and lose everything in the process. Was that A, the Dust Bowl, B, Tornado Alley, or C, Windropolis?
That would be A, the Dust Bowl.
A, the Dust Bowl is correct.
Mary said, I see Jane's confidence, and I raise you my own confidence.
When you say Jane, you mean Jan.
Dang it.
Jane and Jan both very confident.
Here's it for post. Jan. Thanks, bud.
I see Jan's confidence. That's so good. All right, Mary, you are correct. Jan, the board is back to you. We're talking 1930s. It's a game we're calling the Great Depression.
Woo.
Here's your next question. Walt Disney was having a moment in the 30s. With the success of Mickey himself growing since the 20s, the company also released the first ever feature-length animated film into theaters, beginning the Disney princess trend that's lasted until, well, now. A, Sleeping Beauty, B, Cinderella, C, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
I'm thinking it's C, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and when they re-released that movie, those trees scared me to death.
When they re-released the movie, the trees scared her to death, and she remembers it well, and it is correct.
There you
Snow
go.
White and the Seven Dwarfs.
There you go.
Jan is 3 for 3. Mary is 3 for 3. We're talking 30s.
Everyone was so nervous,
Everyone
Dan.
was nervous.
I don't know what we're nervous about. We're doing great.
We're all comfortable here at Who, What, When. We know our
sure are.
stuff. Mary, your next question here about the 1930s. The golden age of comics was really mostly in the 1940s, but it kicked off with this reportedly legendary superhero appearing in Action Comics #1 in 1938, before becoming a mainstay in comics and on the radio in serialized episodes by 1940. Is that A, Batman, B, Captain America, or C, Superman?
Man, I've never wished I was a guy, but right now I do. I'm going to say Superman.
The key word was reportedly, because Clark Kent was a reporter and Superman is correct.
Sneaky
Mary.
sneaker.
Reportedly. You see
Very
what I did
good.
there? I looked at that question. I was like, I'm going to throw reportedly.
I like
in
that
there.
Superman.
I just want credit. You know
I
what
like
mean?
that Superman.
I want credit. Mary, that is correct. Jan, the board back to you. We got ourselves a barn burner and a perfect
do.
game going on
I'd
here.
say.
1930s. Here's your next clue. Before it was a movie in 1967 starring Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway, it was real life in the 1930s when bank robbers became weird national heroic sensations, including this outlaw couple that traveled through the central part of the United States robbing banks during the Great Depression. Is that A, Thelma and Louise, B, Bonnie and Clyde, or C, Ben and Jerry?
B, Bonnie and Clyde.
B, Bonnie and Clyde is correct.
I bet Bonnie and Clyde would have loved Ben and Jerry.
Dude,
so.
Ben and Jerry, Robin Banks is kind of like all I want.
Yeah, I do.
Naming
like
ice cream flavors after it. Nobody can put it together. we robbed Midwest Bank of Omaha cream.
Okay, sure.
That's right. Yeah.
You just got fudge swirled.
Half baked. 100 grand. I don't know. Yeah. We're trying. All right, Mary, the board is back to you. We're tied up. We're talking the 1930s. Here's your next and final clue of the round. Unfortunately, Harlan Sanders' military title was unearned and given to him by the Bluegrass State's governor for his contribution to cuisine, which, almost 100 years after its founding in 1930, still stands in as many locations of this fast food chain around the country. Is that A, KFC, B, Whataburger, or C, Wendy's?
Oh, yeah, that would be Mr. Colonel Sanders. So I'm going to say KFC.
Mr. Colonel Sanders reporting for duty. That is correct.
It came to her.
KFC.
How about that?
A perfect round for Mary.
Dude, we used to get KFC every Sunday night growing up.
Shout out.
I know the
Shout out to
Colonel.
the Big Bucket.
Absolutely.
Original recipe. Or you're an extra crispy guy.
No, we did the original.
Original recipe, of course. I was an extra crispy boy myself.
I understand. I can see that.
Crispy, that's right. All right, Jan, chance to complete a perfect round here. We're talking 1930s in a game we're calling the Great Depression. When? Here's your last clue. In 1930, as most Americans were trying to limit waste and make the most out of what they had, the Continental Baking Company in Illinois found a new use for old shortbread pans that were going to be trashed. It was these snack cakes that were briefly discontinued in 2012 before outrage brought them back to the shelves. Is that A, Tasty Cakes, B, Cloud Cakes, or C, Twinkies?
That would be C, Twinkies.
C, Twinkies is correct.
What were they thinking in 2012?
Discontinuing the Twinkie.
I
Who do you
remember
think you
it
are?
happened and everybody was all up in arms. You had to go get your Twinkies before they
shut it down. That's right.
Of course they brought them back.
That's
of course
right.
they brought them
Yeah,
back.
it almost caused the end of the world according to Minds.
Wow. You're listening to Who, What, When. I'm Brandon Gray here with my co-host Daniel Thompson, and this week we are taking the Who, What, When time machine all the way back to the Dirty 30s.
Our contestants, Jan and Mary, have dusted off their history knowledge, and we have a clean sweep through our first round of questions. We'll see how these two smooth players do in our next game, all about 1930s slang.
That's coming up right after this break here on Who, What, When.
Welcome back to Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson here with my co-host and good buddy Brandon Gray, and this week our topic is all about the 1930s.
And before the next quiz, a reminder that you can be a contestant on a future episode of Who, What, When. Just call or text us at 803-470-6347. That's 803-470-6347. Or you can send us an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
Brand, this is a heated match between
is.
contestants Mary from Pennsylvania and Jan from South Carolina. Both have perfect scores after our first quiz. We'll see if they can continue their streaks in our next game. It's my favorite game. It's Slanguage Arts with Walter Edgar.
Yes, my personal friend, noted historian and host of Walter Edgar's Journal podcast, Walter Edgar, a.k.a. Wally Edge, has graciously agreed to join us today to present our next quiz all about 1930s slang. Walter will read you the definitions of a slang term from the 30s and give you three choices of what that correct term is. Guess the slang right, you'll win yourself a point.
Mary, the first question in Slanguage Arts with Walter Edgar is yours. Take it away, Wally Edge.
If you wanted to say that someone expertly knew their stuff or was at the top of their field of knowledge, not just on the surface but through every layer, you'd say that person really, A, cubes his steak, B, knows his onions, C, chars his tree.
All right, Mary, is it cubes his steak, knows his onions, or chars his tree?
Wow. I've never heard any of those before. Surprising. But I'm going to say B.
She's going to say B, knows his onions, and she is correct.
Yes.
Really?
Perfect game intact.
Okay.
Layers was the clue there. She's got it right. She's 6 of 6, and she knew it all along. Don't let her tone fool you.
Yeah.
All right, Jan, a chance to keep the perfect game rolling. Wally Edge is going to read you a clue about a saying from the 1930s. It's Language Arts with Walter Edgar. Walter, take it away.
Man, this is so wonderful. How could I possibly describe it to you so you'd see how amazing it is? Possibly by comparing it to a common noise from a domesticated animal. Yeah, that should do it. A, the dogs, ow. B, the gerbils burble. C, the cats meow.
I think that would be C, the cat's meow.
C, the cat's meow. Thought for sure it was the gerbils burble,
I
Brand.
like the gerbils burble. I might
Gerbils
start
burble.
saying that.
That might be a 2020.
I think
slogan.
you're the gerbil burble.
Thank you. I think you're the dog's oh.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right. She is correct. It is the cat's meow. We're now still in a perfect game here. We're Slanguage Arts time with Walter Edgar. Walter's joining us to read these clues in only the way that he can. Wally, take it from here.
Hey, do you have any money on you? You know, cash, coin, cabbage, the bills you keep in your wallet. Anybody keep money in their wallet? No, everybody has a credit card. Oh, well, yeah, I think we've got plenty of names for it. But what if we threw in one that was mollusk-themed? A, mussels. B, squid. Or C, clams.
Oh. Clams.
Mary's going with clams, and she is correct again.
Clams.
Can you imagine if it was, hey, you got any squid on you?
I mean, I don't really know what clams does for you either.
I don't know either.
You got any clams?
Clams, at least it's plural.
I hope that no one I know has clams on them.
Yeah, that would
I'll
be
say that.
sick.
I'll
All right,
say that.
Mary, your perfect game is intact. We're playing Slanguage Arts with Walter Edgar. These are famous sayings from the 1930s. Jan, the board is back to you. Here's your next clue straight from the mouth of Walter.
How's it going? Oh, you know, everything's fine, just peachy. I'm doing great. In the 1930s, you'd say this phrase, which included a popular first name, many believe came from a baseball player refusing to play after a foot injury. A, everything's Jake. B, it's all Saul. C, nothing but Bruce.
Jan, is it everything's Jake, it's all Saul, or nothing but Bruce?
Ooh, this one's hard. Let's go with the Jake one.
She's going to go with the Jake one. Everything's Jake. And would you believe that she got it right?
Wow.
Perfect game, intact.
Everything's Jake for
around
both.
here.
I
you
know both our contestants are
got it.
the cat's meow, and I think we owe them a couple clams.
I think they know their onions, in all
tell you what.
honesty. All right, things are about to get a little more crazy. Those were the easy ones. Those first four were the easy, shallow end ones.
Okay.
All right, back to you, Mary. Let's see if we can keep this good vibes train rolling. It's Language Arts with Walter Edgar, Wally Edge. Hit me with that next clue.
Usher would say, you got it bad, but unfortunately, this isn't a 2000s quiz, so you'll have to steady yourself to think of this phrase, which means being completely in love with a woman. A, dizzy with a dame. B, gaga for a gal. Or C, twirly with your girly.
Mary, dizzy with a dame, gaga for a gal, twirly with a girly.
I got two on my mind. A is dizzy for a dame.
Dizzy
right?
with a dame,
right.
and B is gaga for a gal. And then C, you're taking out.
Why are those the two that you're leaning towards right now?
Regis.
Because I know Gaga was popular before Lady Gaga.
Yeah,
so
Yeah, okay.
That one, like Radio Gaga.
Sure. Radio
Yes.
Gaga,
Queen,
yeah.
So I figured that was still
Okay.
around. But again, this is the 30s. And Dizzy for a Dame. I feel like Dame was more Dizzy with a Dame. I feel like that was more popular in
Sure.
the 30s.
Okay.
That term. So I think I'm going to go with Dizzy with a Dame.
Dizzy with the Dame A is the perfect game still intact. Yes, it is.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Mary is correct. It's Dizzy with a Dame.
I like how Mary's playing. She's thinking
She's
it
thinking
through.
through.
She's getting to it. I like it.
Also, the clue said steady yourself. It's neither here nor there, but I did try to throw that in there for you. All right, Jan, back to you. We're seeing if you know these phrases from the 1930s. It's Language Arts with Walter Edgar. Walter, hit me with that next clue.
I don't know if we really needed to go back to the 1930s to come up with a slang term for a coffin, but life was tough back in the 30s and the gangster influence was strong. So I guess in some circumstances you could get away with calling a coffin A, New York necktie, B, a Chicago overcoat, or C, a Boston baptism.
All right, Jan.
Wow.
New York necktie,
This is a good
Chicago
one.
overcoat, Boston baptism.
Kind of like all three of those.
Yeah.
That's another tough one. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with the Chicago overcoat.
She's going to go with the Chicago overcoat. And at this point, I mean, Al Michaels should call Do You Believe in Miracles because she is correct as
Wow.
well. And the perfect game continues.
Amazing. Amazing. We're coming out of the wire, too, Dan. Each of our contestants only have 2 left.
That's
Is
right.
that correct?
They're both 8 for 8. They each have 2 left. One wrong answer could determine who's going to play for that fanny pack. Wally Edge is in studio. He's sweating. We're all tense right now. Next clue about 1930 sayings coming straight from Walter Edgar. Here it comes.
Not our first foray into the world of mollusks on this episode, but this seafood term was given to a radio program that failed due to a lack of rehearsal and on-air mistakes. It might have been who, what, or when. A, oyster pot. B, jellyfish jam. C, clam bake.
On-air mistakes. I don't know anything,
I don't know
about,
anything about that. No way. All right, Mary, if a radio program failed, was it an oyster pot, a jellyfish jam, or a clam bake?
I don't know if this is a clam-centered episode. It's kind of giving me the clam vibe. Something is, no, one wrong answer could totally sway me.
That's true.
I think I'm going to go with oyster pot.
She's going to go with oyster pot. She talked herself out of the second clam answer. Mary, that's incorrect.
Oh, no.
It's incorrect.
Was it the clam one?
It's a real clam bake out
No.
there. Yeah.
What was with the 30s and the clams?
I don't get it,
Dan?
man, but there it is.
Darn it.
Hey.
It really was
All right,
fun.
still, hey, it's not
Hey,
over yet.
We're still alive.
That's
We're
right.
still okay.
You got another question still. Jan has 2. Long way to go, and these are tough. But Mary, that is incorrect. Jan, your chance to take your first lead here on Who, What, When. We're talking 1930s. We're talking about sayings from the 1930s, and we got our boy Walter Edgar to come in and read these clues for us to make them sound authentically Southern and 30s. Wally Edge, take it away.
I can only imagine this saying of the 1930s, which means, oh my, or what a surprise, was crafted at a time and in a place without climate control. A, fan my brow. B, button my coat. Or C, jeeper my creepers.
Fan my brow, button my coat, jeeper my creepers.
Fan my brow. Go with
She's
that.
going fan my brow, and she is correct.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Jan knows her stuff.
Wow, she's pumped.
Jan knows her stuff. Man,
She's
Jan
got to
is
fan.
9
She's got to
for
fan her
9.
brow after that one.
Yeah, fan my brow. You know what I mean? Mary, back to you. You need this
need
one.
it. You need it.
this one. We're talking 1930s sayings. Wally Edge is here in the studio with us. Walter, he never misses either.
Even when we don't play this game, he sits here. And he loves the show.
That's right. He should get credit. He should get a thing in the credits.
should.
Wally Edge is going to read Mary her last clue. Walter, take it away.
This phrase, used in jazz clubs in the 30s, referred to dance bands and orchestras that played smooth commercial music rather than the hot improv sound of the time, not because they were necessarily cold or tired. A, big pants bunch. B, long underwear gang. C, maxi press mafia.
All right, Mary, name of a band that was playing too commercially smooth music in a jazz club. Is that a Big Pants Bunch, Long Underwear Gang, Maxi Press Mafia?
I think any will do. I'll be honest with you. I like them all.
I think I heard a little clue in there, and so it's making me think A or B. So A again was the Big Pants Bunch.
Big Pants Bunch, yeah.
And
B, long
was
underwear
the long
gang.
underwear gang.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm gonna go with the Big Pants Bunch.
She's going to go with Big Pants Bunch. I saw them open for New York Necktie, but actually we're looking for long underwear gang.
Oh,
No.
Mary.
you were
done
thinking
for.
in the
Long
right
underwear
direction,
gang.
too.
Yeah, you had narrowed it down to 2 there. That's tough. I can't believe long underwear gang is a saying.
I know.
I can't.
I really like Big Pants Bunch.
Big Pants Bunch is too good to be true.
Yeah, I think that should have been it.
That's right. All right, Gene, your last question. See if you can complete a perfect game here on Who, What, When. 1930 sayings. Walter Edgar from Walter Edgar's Journal, the famed award-winning program here in South Carolina Public Radio. He's reading these clues just for us. Walter, take it away.
If you went out on an excursion with a set purpose that was fruitless or yielded nothing, you might call it this, which sounds like a grand time by comparison. A, pop out for posies. B, mission to Maui. Or C, trip for biscuits.
Jan, just so we're clear, a fruitless excursion, is that a pop out for posies, a mission to Maui, or a trip for biscuits?
This is hard.
Yeah.
So a fruitless excursion. I'm going to go for C, the biscuits.
She's going to go for C, the biscuits. She is correct again.
Unbelievable.
A perfect game. I did throw in grand, like Pillsbury Grams.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, Jan, a perfect round again.
Amazing.
10 for 10. Listen, Mary from PA, what a player. Got 8 in a row
Great
right.
game.
A great game, and in most cases, good enough to move on. You ran up against a juggernaut, Jan from
Juggernaut
Charleston. A Jan-gernaut, if you will.
If you will, I will.
Yeah, Mary, well done. Not quite enough, but amazing work from you. Thanks for playing.
Thank you.
This is Who, What, When. I'm Brandon Gray here with my friend Daniel Thompson, and today our topic is the 1930s.
Sure is, Brandon. Our contestants today, Jan from South Carolina and Mary from Pennsylvania, both deserve an A+ in Slanguage Arts for their performance in our last game. Jan has emerged victorious after 2 rounds, and that means she is our champion of the week and now has one last quiz standing in between her and the Who, What, When fanny pack.
Oh, it's big. That's coming up after this break here on Who, What, When.
Welcome back to Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia from South Carolina Public Radio. I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray, and this week we're taking the Who, What, When time machine all the way back to the 1930s with games about this era. And we'll get back to those games in just a few moments, but first it's time for our Educator Spotlight, Dan.
It sure is, Bran. Every once in a while, we have the chance to speak with an educator about the subjects we're covering on the show, and today we're joined by one of our favorites, Dr. Catherine Kaiser, professor of English at the University of South Carolina. Kat, welcome to Who, What, When.
What a warm welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Only the warmest for you, Kat. It's always great to see you. You were so kind to chat with us on another episode about literature of the 1920s. And since we've now graduated from the 20s to the 30s, we wanted to bring you back on. And I think that the transition from one decade to the next is a perfect place for us to start. How did literature of the 1930s differ from the works of the Roaring '20s, and what were some of the hallmarks of this era?
The literature of the 1930s engages urgently with the political and social world. So when I came on and talked about the literature of the 1920s, one of the things that we focused on was the way that the 20s celebrated youth culture, novelty, art for art's sake. But because of the advent of the Great Depression, a lot of American writers in the 1930s felt that they had been distracted by frivolity in the 1920s, that it was time to talk about what was going wrong in the American experiment and try to give an accounting of the economic suffering that a great part of the population was going through.
Yeah, Kat, when I think of 1930s literature, I think of literally 2 books, The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck and The Good Earth by Pearl Buck. Both of these books about farmers reckoning with the Great Depression. We know the Dust Bowl. We know that the plight of farmers was incredibly difficult during the Great Depression. We also know it was somewhat of a dying occupation in our country for mass farming. how did these novels go into those issues, and how do they specifically address them?
The Grapes of Wrath is a wonderful example of what I call the documentary style of the 1930s, that writers wanted it to be clear that their fictional narrative, so John Steinbeck writing about one family of Okies, was actually a way of representing families all across America and a plight all across America. So Steinbeck specifically would tell his story in particular chapters, and then in other chapters would describe the American landscape or other people who were suffering in a similar way. He wanted readers to understand that he was giving a snapshot of America at that moment. Now, one of the things that makes the Grapes of Wrath really similar to Pearl Buck's The Good Earth is that I think both Steinbeck and Buck are interested in recuperating an idea of America that, you're exactly right, inheres in the figure of the farmer. So there is a sense, even though Buck is writing about China, and even though Steinbeck is writing specifically about Oklahoma and California, there's a sense in which these regional and global experiences are being used as fables to get America back to what makes the American experience so virtuous in their eyes, right? So if we can just understand the compassion and mercy and hard work that's tied up in agrarianism, maybe we could get out of the shattering forms of capitalism that have brought us to the Great Depression.
Fascinating. Now, Steinbeck and Buck, both white authors telling the stories of marginalized people. Were there writers from these groups who were able to break through the mainstream and tell their own stories, or was it just too difficult at the time to do that?
Well, I think that the most spectacular example of a writer from a marginalized group writing about her own people is Zora Neale Hurston, who writes the novel Their Eyes Were Watching God in the 1930s. And in my opinion, it's one of the greatest novels of all American literature. And what she manages to do in that novel is both to tell the story of the romantic fulfillment of one Black woman who comes to believe in herself and comes to love herself and tell her own story. But much like Steinbeck, Hurston is also telling the story of corporate agriculture victimizing migrant workers. But Hurston, unlike Steinbeck, emphasizes what a role racism plays in those forms of poverty. So when she depicts the hurricane of 1928 bearing down on Florida, she is unsparing in depicting how many more Black migrant workers died because they were living in poverty, because their agribusiness, the corporate owners wouldn't allow them to leave. So she, I think, is the perfect example of someone who, you know, not only is African American herself, but also did the work, right? Hurston was an anthropologist. She thought that poor and working class Black people were the origin point of art. She was excited about how songs, vernacular language, mythology, folklore, conjure, all of those things combined to make Black art. And so she took trips to go live with Black workers in turpentine camps in the South. So she collected their stories, and she knew what she was writing about when she came out with Their Eyes Were Watching God.
A fantastic novel, Their Eyes Were Watching God. Really, really good. Now, Kat, when we talk 20s, The Great Gatsby is unavoidable. But a lot of people don't know that F. Scott Fitzgerald in the 30s wrote another book called Tender is the Night, and it covers a lot of the same themes as Gatsby, but obviously because of the time and the sociopolitical, economic crisis that we're in, has a slightly different take. How would you compare these two novels, and how do you think Fitzgerald's perspective changed in the new decade?
Well, you're absolutely right to emphasize that on the surface, there's a real continuity between them. The Great Gatsby describes the wild party of New York in the 1920s. When we travel to Tender is the Night, it's describing another wild party, this one in the French Riviera. So it would be easy to mistake this as same, and to feel like, Fitzgerald is the poor little rich boy telling the same story. But in fact, Tender is the Night is a book that departs from a feeling of failure and loss. The protagonist, Dick Diver, feels as though his best days are behind him. And there's also a lot of anxiety in the novel about the rise of Hollywood and the rise of the movies, which Fitzgerald associates with the figure of a young Hollywood starlet named Rosemary, who the protagonist, Dick Diver, ends up having a romance with. So Dick seems too old, too belated, a symbol of a bygone era. So even though Rosemary has this romance with him, ultimately it seems like Hollywood and the starlet are going to survive, whereas the serious thinker, the modernist man, very much like Fitzgerald himself, is going to fade into the background and become intellectually extinct. So even though Gatsby has a tragic ending, I think there's something about Gatsby that speaks to youth, that speaks to the dream of greatness. And Tender is the Night is much more of a midlife novel, much more of a novel of resignation. There's no option for Dick Diver to be a heroic figure in the way that Jay Gatsby was.
All this Hollywood talk kind of segues great into this next question that I had, which is about Gone with the Wind. Obviously, famous book turned very famous film. How did that novel fit into the literary landscape of the decade?
Gone with the Wind is a really fascinating piece of historical fiction because of how it is deploying this mythology of the lost cause. So I think it's responding in an escapist way to the context of the Great Depression, so that the antebellum South, Tara before the war, becomes a symbol of a kind of elegance and luxury and ease that a lot of white Americans were very taken with at this time. But then it also offers a particular form of catharsis, right? If Scarlett O'Hara at Tara is submerged in war, is losing her luxury and is having to fight to survive, then she becomes kind of a double for the white American during the Great Depression, who is also struggling to make ends meet, but wants to keep their home, wants to keep their family. So there's a real appeal. I think we often forget that historical fiction is not only about the time period that it describes, but it's also about the time period when it was written. So I think Mitchell, in writing that popular fiction, is speaking to her own moment. Now, one of the things that's really disturbing about Gone with the Wind as it traffics in Southern nostalgia and racist stereotypes is that one of the ways that it tries to enlist its reader is through a fantasy of the American nation that puts the roots of the nation in the Confederacy and that identifies the Confederacy with whiteness. Now, to me, it's really interesting that the ethnic group that stands in for whiteness in our main character in Gone with the Wind is the Irish. And as you may know, the Irish were not always considered white. So waves of Irish immigration earlier were greeted with business owners saying Irish need not apply for jobs. So it is interesting to me as a scholar of the history of racial categorization in this country to think about that transformation from a 19th century view of the Irish as not white to Margaret Mitchell using the O'Haras as a symbol of American whiteness.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I think you could culturally look at a lot of those. Like, my producer just said Godfather did the same thing for Italians. I think there's a lot of those like white immigrant populations that get denigrated in the 19th century that tend to be redeemed somewhat by culture in the 20th century, which is a fascinating concept. Dr. Catherine Kaiser, professor of English at the University of South Carolina. Kat, thank you so much for joining us and chatting with us on this 1930s edition of Who, What, When.
It was great to be here. Thanks for having me.
This is Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson. That's Brandon Gray. This week, our topic is the 1930s.
And before we get to our final game, one more quick reminder that we would love for you to join us as a contestant on a future episode of the program. Just call or text us, 803-470-6347. That's 803-470-6347. Or send us an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
Jan from South Carolina is our champion of the week, and she'll be competing in one last game for a chance at that sweet, sweet Who, What, When fanny pack. Hot off the press, this is a game we're calling Ace or Baloney.
Extra, extra, quiz all about it. In this game, I'll play the role of a 1930s newspaper barker trying to get you to read the latest edition with a bizarre headline. Dan will give you a little taste of the article behind the title. Jan, your job is to tell us if the headline belongs to an authentic 1930s news story, so that would be Ace, or if it is a lie made up by Dan, a.k.a. Baloney. There are 8 headlines in all. Identify 5 correctly. You're going to take home that sweet, sweet fanny.
Jan, here's your first headline in Ace or Baloney.
Tree-sitting craze sweeps America. Boys stay in trees for hundreds of hours.
That's right, Brand. In the summer of 1930, thousands of kids across the country climbed into trees and refused to come down because apparently the Great Depression wasn't depressing enough. Parents were sending up sandwiches and newspapers, among other things, as their kids would sit in these trees for days on end. The fad came to a close when kids were reportedly falling out of the trees. Jan, is that Ace or Baloney?
Ooh, that one's hard because I know they had all sorts of crazy things that they did back then. And, I don't know, bobbing for something and sitting in things. So I'm going to go with Ace on this one.
Ace, bobbing for something, sitting on things, and sitting in trees is correct.
Wow.
She's 1 for 1.
Fantastic.
All right, Jan, you got 1 right. You need 4 more. We're playing a little game called Ace or Baloney. Is this a real newspaper headline in history, or is it baloney? Bran, take it away.
Extra! Scientists grow viruses in chicken eggs.
That's right, Jan. It may sound like a nefarious plot of a Bond villain, but this was an actual and quite successful use of experimentation, as doing this led to many scientific breakthroughs for the human population, including the foundation for modern vaccines. Is that Ace or Baloney?
I think that's Ace.
She thinks that's Ace, and she thinks correctly.
Wow.
She's 2 for 2. Wow. Strong competitor.
I'm not sure how growing a virus on a chicken egg leads to the vaccine, but I'm thankful for it.
Yeah, we're all thankful the Janggernaut is here to play. She's 12 of 12. She needs 3 more right for a 15 of 15 run, the likes of which we don't see around here at Who, What, When too often. All right, we're playing Ace or Baloney as this newspaper headline and corresponding history. True or false? Bran, take that headline away.
Breaking news! Radio station offers free haircuts if you can whistle their jingle.
That's right, Jan. In order to drum up business and partner with local workers, WCHI Chicago had updated their call sign jingle and put listeners to the test with a free haircut on the line with a local barber shop as its partner for the bit. Is that Ace or Baloney?
Oh, that sounds like the kind of crazy thing they would do, but I'm going to call baloney on this one.
She says it sounds plausible, but thinks there's no way I would put 3 aces in a row.
Would you do it?
She's correct. I have put 3 aces before in a row, and the head games go really hard at that point. Jan is correct. She's 13 of 13. She needs 2 more correct answers for that fanny pack. Boy, We got a serious game happening here. This is record-breaking stuff here. Jan from Charleston, your next clue here on Ace or Baloney is this newspaper headline and corresponding history. Real 1930s or is it baloney? Brand, take it away.
Get this one. Aviation Club offers beginner flights in grounded planes.
That's right, Jan. Air travel for leisure and convenience didn't become commonplace until decades later, but it began as an offering, typically for wealthier Americans in the 1930s. Many were too afraid of the concept of flying, which led TWA to offer beginner flights in big cities where full-grown adults would show up, board the plane, get a snack, go through the safety and security features of the flight without ever leaving the ground.
Wow.
Is that ace or baloney?
Oh, this is a tough one because I can imagine my grandmother in the 30s not wanting to fly on a plane, but wanting to get on one. I'm going to guess ace.
She's going to guess ace for the first time all game.
Oh, my goodness.
Jan from Charleston has missed one.
Wow.
What a tough one.
I would have guessed ace, too. That's
So,
like, you
can I
want
tell
to get
you-
on there, make sure you feel good.
Yeah, so they did this, but they flew you up in the air, and it wasn't called a beginner flight. So that whole story is a lie, but they offered something similar where they would take you on a short flight.
Shorty.
Yeah.
See if you're ready for a long.
Yeah, it wasn't the pomp and circumstance of just sitting on the tarmac.
Okay.
No. So that's why.
Fascinating.
That's a tough one.
I got to be honest. I would rather go on, feel good on the ground, and then I'll be ready. You don't need to fly me up real quick.
Yeah.
I like what you came up with.
Jan, listen, you did miss one, but you only need two more for that fanny pack. Still alive, still a lot of game to play. We're talking ace or baloney, true or false. Is this newspaper headline a real one from the 1930s, along with its history, or did we make it up? Brian, hit me with that headline.
Do you believe it? Husband claims wife is sending Morse code messages in her sleep.
A telegraph operator, which was still a pretty viable means of communication at the time, testified in divorce court that her husband believes she was snoring Morse code to signal to her lover outside, which was why he attacked her in her sleep.
Wow.
The judge, like I would assume most rational individuals, didn't buy it. Is that ace or baloney?
Okay, so 1930s.
That's the episode.
I gotta go with ace.
She's going to go ace. And I got to be honest, I was worried there for a second, but she is correct.
Oh,
It is
amazing.
ace. There it is. How about that for a crazy story?
Amazing.
Your
How about
Honor,
that?
she was snoring in Morse code so loudly that someone outside could hear it clearly.
Yeah.
What a time to be alive.
Why would she do it? What's the
exactly. It
end game
doesn't-
there?
Yeah. She's cheating
To
on
her
husband.
lover on the
Yeah,
outside.
That's right.
Good night.
Goodbye, my lover. All right, Jan, let's set the stage. 3 questions left.
Yes.
They're headlines from the 1930s. Are they real ace or are they fake
Yeah.
baloney? All you got to do is get one of these
Just
right.
one.
And you're going home with your very own Who, What, When fanny pack. Bran, take it away.
Hear ye, hear ye. Dust storm so severe, chicken lay eggs in the dark.
You want to try it again?
Yes.
Chicken lay eggs.
Dust storm so severe that chickens lay eggs in the dark.
Yes, the Dust Bowl had large, more specifically weird impacts, such as this story where the sky became so dark during daytime that chickens believed it was time to lay their eggs and go to sleep. Is that ace or baloney?
I'm going with ace.
She's going with ace. Without missing a beat, she's going with ace. And she is correct. Jan from Charleston, South Carolina, goes 15 of 16.
Pretty good.
Who, What, When champion of the week and is taking home her very own Who, What, When fanny pack. What a player. Jan, congratulations on winning this week's Who, What, When. Any last words for the folks listening at home?
Thank you. I appreciate my public. This is a wonderful thing, and I will proudly display the fanny pack.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that, Jan. Thank you so much, and thanks for playing.
What a swell way to end our 1930s episode. Thank you again to our contestants, Jan and Mary, and congratulations to Jan for earning the title of Who What When Champion of the Week.
Sydney Wilcox is our production assistant. Our producer is A.T. Shire, and our executive producer is Sean Birch, whose favorite hobby is putting on the Ritz. This show is a production of South Carolina Public Radio, made possible in part by listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina.
You can join us on an episode of Who What When. Just call or text us at 803-470-6347. That's 803-470-6347. Or send us an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
You can find out more about the show at our website, whowhatwhenshow.org.
And listen to an extended version of the show on your favorite podcast app or through your smart speaker.
I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray. Join us again next week for more history, games, and trivia right here on Who What When.